Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Meetinghouse of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we encourage each other in our spiritual search for truth and meaning. We also are grateful to be able to live stream this morning's service to all of you at home. My name is Ellen Anthony, and I'll be your worship host this morning. Our minister, Reverend Kate, is away at the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly in Portland, Oregon. Our guest preacher this morning is Reverend D.L. Helfer, a Unitarian Universalist minister joining us from Rhode Island. They last preached here several times, but the last time they preached was 2021. And that was virtual. So welcome back in person, Reverend Hill. Before we begin our service, I have a few announcements to make. Thank you to everyone who shared in the joyous celebration of Juneteenth last week here out on the lawn. This weekend is the Provincetown Portuguese Festival, where we honor the Portuguese heritage so central to this town's history and present. The blessing of the fleet is today at 1 o'clock, and at the end of the service you may hear the parade going by. On Saturday, July 2nd, the Social Action Committee and other Outer Cape peace activists invite us all to a Stand Out along Route 6, from the Rotary in Orleans all the way to the tip. We're invited to carry signs of Black Lives Matter and any homemade signs you have representing world peace, end to war, and, should have said it the other way, and justice for all, other way around. Also, Saturday, July 2nd is our next monthly Racial Justice Vigil out on the right in front of Town Hall, where we carry signs of Black Lives Matter and your homemade signs. Today is Gun Safety Sunday. Churches all across the United States are including in their services a plea for folks to vote in politicians who are for gun safety, background checks, red flag laws, and a ban on the ability to purchase weapons designed for war. Also included in this important interfaith community initiative is a reminder that if you do own a firearm, it's important to store it safely, unlocked, at home, and this decreases the risk of homicide, suicide, domestic violence, and accidental deaths. 110 people die from gun violence every day in America. Thank you for lifting up this important issue. And finally, today on the lawn out front of the Meetinghouse, we would love to have you join us all for conversation and coffee on whatever's on your heart. Let's take a moment now to affirm our covenant together. I will say a line, and then you say it back to me. Love is the spirit of this meeting house.
Love is the spirit of this meeting house.
This is our great covenant.
This is our great covenant.
To dwell together in peace.
To dwell together in peace.
To seek the truth in love. And to help one another. Now it's the time to light our chalice, and as we light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you at home to light a candle wherever you are. In this way we can feel connected even when we are apart. Today we light this flame for those who knew that their small light would not put us one spark closer to the truth, but who would not yield to dire predictions, nor to cynicism, nor to common sense, their uncommon sense that it was their light that was called for, that it was they who were called by name. Let us do something worthy of its light. Poem by Barbara Pescan. And a reminder to turn off your cell phones.
Good morning. It's good to be with you both here in person and those joining us virtually. And I can take off my mask. So I want to start today not with the topic that I'm going to preach about, but I want to start with a few minutes of talking about the overturning of Roe versus Wade. I thought about rewriting my sermon and talking only of this. But I realize this is a topic best addressed between you and your settled minister, Reverend Kate. And I say that because this is such a heart-based loss. It is such a wounding loss that even while we perhaps anticipated it, our hearts need that sense of safety in order to process the entirety of our feelings. But I'm a minister, so I do have a couple of thoughts. One, our hearts are tender. We are feeling a huge array of responses. And they're all appropriate, whether it's fear or anger or despair. Some of us, myself included, just reflexed right in to direct action because that's what we know. But whatever your feeling is, I encourage us to be gentle with ourselves and gentle with each other. Two, there's a larger arc of justice at work here. There's already talk about what this decision means, as you know. If it's a house of cards for the loss of other rights. And as terrifyingly bad as this decision is, it doesn't stand alone. The right to conception, same-sex marriages, and so much else are in the sights of these right-wing judges. Of course, any and all trans rights are already long under attack. And I don't have simple words of comfort to provide you. It's a time of shift, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But what I do know, and where my faith does lead me, is in recognizing and growing into the ways in which we live interconnected lives, to see where and how we might help each other through these times, to find and share the ways that we incredibly innovative beings know, and ways we learn to care for each other more deeply. So listen with that in mind, if you would, to today's service, which is actually on mental health, and I think it's entirely on point given this. It asks the question, how do we walk with more love, more honesty, and more care through some of the most difficult of times? So let us begin, if you would. I ask you to join me in a moment of silence for all of those who will suffer under this new law, and readying ourselves to support each other and the broader world through these times. May it be so.
It's so nice to hear the translation. Surrender to This Life by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Give up the fight for some other moment, some other life than here and now. Give up the longing for some other world, the wishing for other choices to make, other songs to sing, other bodies, other ages, other countries, other stakes. Purge the past, forgive the future, for each come too soon. Surrender only to this life, this day, this hour, not because it does not constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty, startles with delight, if only we keep waking up. This is the gift we have been given, these body clothes, this heartbreak, this pulse, this breath, this light, these friends, this hope. Here we remember ourselves, all a part of all, giving thanks together. Now is the time in our service where we take a collection for the ongoing support of this meeting house and our shared ministry. As we enjoy a musical reflection, we welcome your donations through PayPal or Venmo, and you can find that information on our website at uunh.org. Whether you give online or through other ways, we are grateful for your support.
listen to the music and I think, okay, we can go home now, sermon's over. It was really beautiful, thank you. Please join me now in a spirit of meditation or prayer. If you have a joy or a sorrow on your heart this morning, you are welcome to light a silent candle during the prayer or any time during the service at the table to the right of the pulpit, to the left of the pulpit, and then where you can see it, I can't. And there's a journal there to record your thoughts and prayers. I invite you, though, as you're comfortable, to feel yourself firmly in your seat, maybe lean your back against the back and have your feet on the ground. Perhaps lower your gaze or close your eyes, whatever you're comfortable with. This is a meditation on broken hearts by the Reverend Thomas Rhodes. Let us enter into a time of contemplation, meditation, and prayer. Feel the earth beneath your feet as it supports you. Feel the love of this community as it surrounds and enfolds you. Feel your breath as it flows in and out of your body. Listen to your heartbeat. Listen to your heart. And how is it with your heart? Does your heart feel whole, shielded by intellect, cocooned by reason, and closed to feeling? Or is it broken and fragile to the touch, brimming with the pain of loss? Or has your heart been broken and healed so many times that it now lies open to the world, knowing that true growth comes not without pain, that tears may wear down barriers, that we may carry the hearts of others even when our own is too heavy for us to bear. None of us, not one, has an unblemished heart. For such perfection can be found perhaps only in death, and we who are alive have much to heal. So let us give thanks for the broken places in our hearts and in our lives, for it is only through such brokenness that we may truly touch one another. And only through touching one another may the world truly be healed. So let us give thanks for the brokenness that we share. I invite you into one more moment of silence with me. Come back into the room as you're ready. So, 6 years ago now, I was in the first year of my first settled year as a minister. No pressure. And I was struggling very quietly with a very substantial depression. And as the minister, I didn't feel like I could really tell anyone in the congregation this truth. But I did share it with the board president and the committee on ministry. But I wondered, what would they think if they knew? Would they judge me? Would they trust me less? Would they hear me differently? So I said very little, and I kept my struggles to myself, fearing judgment. I did seek professional help, and it worked. It worked really well, and my equilibrium came back. And on some level, I knew that would happen. Because with others that suffer depression, we know these periods come, and if we're lucky, then they go. But sometimes surviving those in-between parts can feel incredibly painful. And I tell you this not for sympathy or concern. I'm in a very centered, strong place. At least up until the Roe decision, that was true. But like everyone else, these massive changes in the world, they create anxiety in me. But my own toolkit, my own self-care toolkit is well stocked and working. But I'm telling you this because I'm witnessing just how many people are very quietly and very privately struggling tremendously. I want you to know two things. One, you're not alone. Two, you're not alone. And when I say you're not alone, I don't necessarily mean that you're physically surrounded by friends or family. Maybe you are, and maybe you're not. I'm making a more theological claim that there is more to connect into, even beyond other people. And for some among us, this is a practice of faith so deeply practiced, whether it's in the form of a goddess, or a sangha, or an amalgam of a few traditions. Maybe you dance or you walk in the woods. Maybe you sing or create other types of art. Some of us grow things. But all of this is a way in. It's a way to move closer to that communal body of love, whatever that is you call it. And it's a connection to something, however physically intangible, that nonetheless helps us root ourselves in place. I know for myself that when I'm at my most despairing, I've lost connection to divinity. That's my word for it. But I don't realize that yet. It's not until I find my way back to my spiritual practice. For me, that's yoga, walking in the woods, torturing my cat just by giving it a lot of love, not actually torturing it. And then I finally feel, aha, this is what it's like to feel connected, to feel tapped in to the greater spirit of life. And perfect song, by the way. And we need this connection. We need this, however you define, however you experience it, and we're going to need it ever more. This time we're in, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's going to last a while, and even when this phase ends, there's going to be a lot more to live into, to figure out, and to change. So if you're feeling thrown, anxious, depressed, whatever mental health issue is worsening, yeah, of course it is. This is trauma for most, and triggering for many, and at least a little scary for just about all. Our individual and our communal mental health is naturally going to struggle, and there is zero shame in that. There might even be a gift in those struggles. Those of us that experience spiritual pain, emotional pain, whether that's depression or bipolar or addiction or whatever it is, we know this journey. We know how to prepare for a marathon because that's been our life. Not that life is always a struggle by far, but that we've learned out of necessity how to survive hard times. And we know, too, that joy follows pain. Sadly, we've also learned shame, how to hide from our self-perceived deficits, how to put forward a brave front, how to push through these harder times on will alone. I want more than that for you, for us. I want you to be able to share the weight of your burdens. And I reach back here to one of our most loved Mary Oliver poems to remind us that you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, and I will tell you about mine. And meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and excited, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. And here's the secret, friends, or the secret as well as I know it. Spiritual life can, in a healthy and loving community, provide that scaffolding that we need to help us discover these parts of ourselves. It can help us move through these moments that feel so hard. I keep thinking about our General Assembly, where I'm not at this week, obviously. And whatever challenges we encounter as a faith tradition, there is no doubt in my mind of the power of the communities of faith that we create and we create. During COVID, I've had the opportunity, as you pointed out, to guest preach a lot. And in community after community, I can witness the multitude of ways in which you reach out to each other with an incredible amount of love and support. If someone needs groceries, you're there. If someone needs an ear, you are there. If someone is in need, you are there. But in this most unusual of times, I invite us to take this practice of interdependence one more step forward. I wonder what would happen if when you greet each other, your question was, how is it with your heart? How is it with your heart? How is it with your heart? We keep talking about building a different world, about coming out of this time of coronavirus changed. And one of those changes is the deepening of connections. It's learning to hold each other's truth with such love, such gentleness, that shame is not even a fault. Instead, like physical illness, mental health challenges become met with love, devoid of judgment and shame. I don't know how to state strongly enough my belief that it is our presence and the way we show up for each other that will save our world. No one has to suffer alone. The secret, of course, is that when we open up our hearts to each other, our own hearts get strengthened as well. So I invite us to check on each other's emotional well-being. Ask each other, how are you doing? How is it with your heart? And hear it. And as we grow in unexpected ways during this time, may we begin by making space for anyone and everyone to show up with the fullness of their being and to be met with love. May it be so. So as we move towards the end, I have been invited to leave you with a question. I was told that it is the practice of this congregation to pose a question based on the theme of the service. It could be a topic of dinner conversation tonight, or a question to pose to friends during the week. And if you want to delve deeper, you can join us on Zoom Tuesday at 5. And I think you know what my question is. You want to tell me? Thank you for listening. How is it with your heart? Thank you for joining us this morning, and blessed be.